Come on, bro. Lock in, bro. We need you.
How do I get out of a creative/mental slump? I feel like that's something that I'm super duper passionate about because, bro, as a creative, it be so many times I feel like I'm in a slump, I'm in a rut, like I don't know what I have going on. Like, you ever just feel like you lose your vision? That's happened to me more times than I can count, and that's kind of what happens when I go inconsistent. And I think it's a couple things. For one, you gotta ask, like me, I've been refining my faith a lot within this past few months. I feel like, for one, you gotta ask God for these ideas. Don't be afraid. Don't think that every idea and everything just comes from you. It comes from God, bro. You gotta ask God for these things, man. And I ask God, when I pray at night, I ask God for wisdom, courage, strength, like, you know what I'm saying, creativity. I ask God for all of these things, and that kind of helps me get some ideas back flowing. But I feel like when you're going through a creative slump, what I like to do is look at what worked for me in the past and be like, how can I elevate this? How can I turn this up to make it better? You know what I'm saying? And that kind of helps me get through that creative slump. And then also I try and just become more inspired. Sometimes you got to get off your phone to really sit with your thoughts and sit with your creative self, because like being on your phone, you get distracted and that dopamine hit, it kind of like messes you up a little bit, at least for me. So I have to like get off my phone and like just go smell the air, like go on a walk, take a walk, like just breathe fresh air, and that fresh air is going to like kind of spark your creativity. So I feel like it's tough, and creative blocks and just slump in general, being in a slump in general is so tough to get out of. But with praying and like kind of just forcing yourself to do it, forcing yourself to get out of it, if you can get out of it, bro, you're going to come out on the other side a better creative, a better person. And that's kind of why I'm going right now. That's why, again, like I said earlier, I'm naming this video I Died and Came Back, because I really did. I feel like I'm rebirthing myself. I'm being born again, and I'm trying to be better for y'all, but most importantly, I'm trying to be better for myself, my family, and for God, you know what I'm saying? So I think like the best answer though, if you're going through a creative slump, is to get off your phone and consume something different. Like, change up something about yourself and think further, just think forward, and just be, I don't know, just take more risk. And like those ideas that you have in your head, attack them. It don't matter if it's trash or not, like attack it and learn through that, and you're gonna become better. Like iron sharpens iron. Basically, like doing something, practice makes perfect. If you do it and you keep doing it, and you're gonna get better at it, and them ideas are gonna flow naturally, and you're gonna find your vision again, I promise, because that's what I've been going through. But I feel like I got it now. I know where I'm going now because I put that work in. So have I figured out who I am? I don't know. I feel like there was a point in time where I feel like I was really getting to know myself, and then like just being honest, like it got to a point where I felt like the world around me was kind of turning me to be someone different. And you know, I feel like life is all about adapting. Like, you have to be able to adapt to your surroundings, and I feel like we become new people every day. We have new interests, we have new loves, we have new things that we hate, we have new things. We just grow as people every day. So like when it comes to knowing if I am, and knowing who I am, I don't know. You know, I would like to say that I know who I am. I would like to say that I know I'm this person that can do this and do this, but I don't really know if I know who I am. Like, I have a good idea, but I feel like a lot of times I feel like the world has kind of changed who I am, and I feel like that's a flaw. Like, sometimes you gotta be able to recalibrate yourself and be like, okay, I'm going on a hard lockdown right now, and I'm about to figure out who I am. Kind of like putting yourself through a training camp, and that's kind of like the process I'm trying to go through right now. I'm learning more about myself. I'm learning more about my flaws. I'm learning more about the things that irritate me, the things that make me upset, the things that I need to be doing to make me better. So I don't feel like I know fully who I am right now. I feel like I kind of came to a crossroads and had kind of like an identity crisis, but I know that every time I always just pray to God for wisdom and to put me through challenges so I can learn more about myself and not let this exterior life like distract me and take me away from who I am, because I know God wanted me to be this specific person. It's my goal to find who that person is sooner or later, and I know sooner or later I'm gonna find him, and he's gonna be lit, and it's gonna be like super dope. But not for anyone who doesn't feel like they know who they are. I think just the where you learn the most about yourself is through solitude, and it sucks being by yourself, and it sucks being lonely, and all of that sucks. But like being able to kind of figure out who you are is super cool, and it's something that you can't take for granted. It's something that everyone needs to do at some point in time. So if it means being by yourself, like, so be it. You gotta do it just so you can become better. So how do you figure out who you are after you feel like you lost your sense of self-identity? I feel feel like this is one that's kind of like been going on with me right now. I feel like, man, I look at it 3 ways. Like, for one, you gotta sit back before you can like change your identity and change who you are. I feel like you gotta sit back and reflect. You gotta be like, okay, who was I? Who do I want to be? And who am I right now? And what's preventing me from getting to that person I want to be? And what created me into this person who I am now? And I feel like a lot of instances, like, your surroundings kind of create who you are, and like what you consume creates who you are. And a lot of times people don't realize how important all like our environment is towards our character development as people. But I say that to say that going into my next point on how you figure out who you are is by you have to be alone. And everyone hates being alone. Even sometimes I hate being alone, but I realize that being alone like gives me the most sense of clarity. Being alone gives me the most sense of knowledge, the most sense of wisdom, and the most sense of courage to authentically be myself. Because when you're alone, I look at it as like being deep in the ocean by yourself. Like, either you're gonna sink or you're gonna swim. You gotta figure out who you are somewhere or another. And the people that are strong mentally, they swim, and the people who are weak, who may not like be as committed as to finding who they are, they sink. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that solitude is where you learn the most about yourself, and that's when you get to realize who you are, where you want to be, what inspires you, what makes you tick, what morals you stand on, what honors you stand on. And I feel like that's where you're gonna do the most growth as a person. Because I feel like when you're around people, like, you start to become everybody else in a way. But if you're by yourself, you can only be yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why a lot of people have like identity crisis, because they're in such these compromising environments that are compromising their character and compromising what they believe in and what, you know. And I like to kind of reflect back to who I was as a kid, like, because I feel like that's when you're most raw and you're most blissful, is when you're a child. And I try and go back to that and be like, what made the little hands happy? You know what I'm saying? What made me happy? What did I believe in? What morals did I stand on? I try and implement that in my life and not let the world around me change who I am, but always stay true to myself. And I will also say it gets to a point where you got to kind of like kill off your old identity in a way. And that's why I'm naming this video I Died and Came Back, because I feel like I killed who I was. Well, not yet. I'm still working, but I'm trying to kill off who I was and make a better version of myself, and kind of like reincarnating myself as a better version of myself. And you got to kind of get rid of your old habits, the old things that's holding you back. And it's just dead weight that you got to cut off. And a lot of people are scared to cut it off because they're scared to change. But if you want to be great, and if you want to be the best version of yourself, you got to kill off that bad version of yourself and find someone new. It's like kind of finding like a new love interest in yourself, you know. So that's kind of what I would say is how you deal with like losing your self identity. And it's not something that's bad. Like, everybody goes through moments where they don't know who they are, but it's just about being able to reinvent yourself and being able to invent a new character. And I feel like the people who can do that are the people who are successful, the people, you know. So what type of mental barriers / self-doubts do I go through? When it comes to like mental barriers, sometimes like I be having a lack of focus. I feel like sometimes like I'll be way too focused on stuff that doesn't matter. And when you get focused on stuff that doesn't matter, you get in the flow of that, and then you start messing up, and it becomes bad. So like I would say that's one, sometimes a lack of focus. But like when I'm focused though, I'm super dialed in. I'm trying to be like that more, because what you pay attention to is what makes you rich, bro. So if you pay attention to your work and all of that, that's what's, and I mean rich like figuratively, it's gonna make you like a better person. So like I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of times I can just get distracted, and that's by people, things, like whatever it may be. But your focus is so important to your development as a person. And the reason why a lot of people aren't successful is because they don't focus, and focusing will take you from here. It's crazy. So I would say like my lack of focus at times, social media at times. Sometimes social media kind of is a mental barrier for me, because it kind of makes me compare myself to people, and not in like an envious way, but makes me compare myself and be like, I don't know. I feel like social media sometimes zaps your creativity. And as a person that's trying to push a creative, like just trying to do things differently, creatively, like sometimes social media isn't the best place for me, and it can become a distraction and become a mental barrier. And it can become a mental barrier. So I feel like that's something that's also been a mental barrier for me, is social media. So I try and take time off and try to take time just creating my own world and living in it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not living in everybody else's world that I follow, but living in my own world, and, you know what I'm saying, making the most out of that world. And then when it comes to like self-doubt, sometimes, like this has been recently, sometimes I be feeling like I'm not enough. Like sometimes I be feeling like I'm not enough for people, or not enough for my own goals. But then I had to like pray and sit back and think, and I'm like, man, you are enough. Like God made you perfect, not perfect, but God made you made you, I look at it like he made you like a maze. Like he kind of wants you to learn and find your way through yourself and kind of figure yourself out. And when you get to the end goal, that's when you finally reach your purpose. So I like sometimes if you're out there and you feel like you're not enough, just know you are. Like it's always something to work ahead to, and just always something that you could be better at. And that's the beauty about life, is that you can become better at stuff, and you're not going to be the same way your whole life. And always think that you're enough, because if you don't think you're enough, nobody's going to think you're enough, you know. So that's what I would say about that.